All right, the purpose of this video is just to kind of clarify some of the problems or the questions that we had today. So I just kind of want to deal with the ones that were the most frequently asked. And so the first one that was most frequently asked is dealing with John's and Sarah's TV. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, now just to keep us from having information overload here, I'm going to cover up Sarah's information. We don't care about her right now. All right, now, where you start depends on the information given. Now, in class, I told you that if you're ever dealing with size, it's always going to be a squared plus b squared equals c squared situation. All right, now, if you, and I can actually zoom in, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit here. I don't know if I can. Nope, I can't. All right, never mind. I guess we're going with this. All right, let me see if I can do this. That'll be a little better. All right, so notice that we have an aspect ratio. It's not the size. So if you're never given the size, then what that means is you got to deal with a proportion. All right, so I have to deal with a proportion. And I think I spelled that right. So the aspect ratio is 16:9. Remember, this is the width, this is the height. So when I set up my proportion, it's always going to be width over height because width is always on top. So that's going to be 16/9. But notice I'm given the width. So that means it's going to be 61/x. All right, so when I cross multiply and solve, I'm doing this right now, let's see, I believe that's going to give me 34.3 inches for the height. Now, once you have your width and height, that pretty much allows you to solve for everything else. So the size, again, remember folks, the size is a squared, b squared, c squared. So the size is going to be a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So remember that's your width and height. Going back to this right here. So for, I think I have a highlighter here. Why not? I think this works. I'm looking for my size. I have my height. I have my width. Notice I have a triangle here. So that's a triangle. Hopefully it showed up. So my width, I'm just going to go ahead and say that's a squared. So that's 61 squared plus 34.3 squared is equal to c squared. All right, I'm going to square it. So 61 squared plus 34.3 squared. And that gives me 4,897.5 is equal to c squared. So now at this point I square root. And my answer to the nearest whole number, because that's what it asked, is going to be 70. Okay? Now, the area, remember the area is width times height. Well, I already have my width, I already have my height. I'm just going to multiply those two together. 61 times 34.3. So my area is 9,092, nearest whole number, inches squared. Now that inches squared is just a number. Yeah, I'm sorry, a label. So that doesn't mean I'm squaring 2009. I'm not doing that. That's just the universal sign for area is inches squared in this case. Now perimeter is the distance around the object. So that means, and I use this in class, if I was standing right here lower left, I got to walk the entire width, then I got to walk up the height, and I got to walk over back to the width, and I got to walk down back to the height. So the width is 34.3. So that's two 34.3s. And then actually, I just messed up. The width was 34.3, sorry. The height is 61. Sorry about that. I'm sure you're probably screaming at the screen saying I was wrong. And you would be right. So width, height, width, height. So 61 plus 61 plus 34.3 plus 34.3. That gives me an entire perimeter of 90.6 inches. All right. So again, where you start from is going to help you out for where you end up. So using Sarah's TV, notice what I have. I have the width and I have the area. That's all I'm given. So that means I got to think to myself, wait a minute, to find the area, that is width times height. Well, I already know what the width is, so that it's almost like saying 50h is equal to 2352. Well, 2352 divided by 50 that gives me an overall height of 47. We'll just say 47. It's actually 47.0 something, but we're just going to say 47. Now, once you, again, find the width and height, finding the aspect ratio is pretty simple. If you remember, in my calculator, I'm going to say 56 divided by 47, and I'm going to do second table, which actually is, cannot be reduced down, 56/47. That's a weird aspect ratio, but we're going to go with it, okay? Now, the size. Again, that's another a squared, b squared, c squared situation. So that's going to be 47 squared plus 56 squared equals c squared. So I'm going to speed up on this one just because I've already shown you one. And that gives me 73 inches. All right. Now, the perimeter, again, 56, 47. So 56, 56, 47, 47. That gives me 206 inches. Now, I should have said this at the very beginning of the video. I didn't, but these questions are extra questions. So if you want to pause the video, write down the questions so you can then solve it and then check it off the video, you can do that. In fact, I would encourage that. Now, one of the questions I'm getting most is size. And they're asking, well, when do I use like 9x and 21x? Like, for example. So when should I use, or in other words, how? I don't know why I was going to, let me do that again. Can't spell today. How should I use this right here? Now, if the question says that the size is, I'm making this up, 55 inches with an aspect ratio of 4:3. Okay, if you're ever given that situation, then you would set it up as, here's my diagonal, this is 55, that should be 4x, that should be 3x. That's when you set that up. But if I ever give you a situation where the width is, again, making this up, 60, and the height is 40, I already know what my width and height is. So I don't need to do this whole 4x and 3x. Here I didn't know. Here I do know. All right. So here I already know. So this is going to be I'll just write it up underneath. 60 squared plus 40 squared is equal to c squared, which c would be right there. All right. Now here, I don't know what my width is. I don't know what my height is. All I know is that it's 4x and 3x because I was only given my aspect ratio. So now it would be parenthesis 4x squared plus parenthesis 3x squared is equal to 55 squared. So know the difference on when you will do this. This is when you're given the aspect ratio. This is when you actually know what the width and what the height is. Here I don't know what they are. I don't. Here I do know what they are. So know the difference. Remember, that's going to have an x attached to it because I don't know what the actual width is. Here I know that's 60. Notice there's no x. So keep all that straight. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. Oh, here we go. This guy. We did this today. So if you remember, you have to solve for x first. Solve for x. First thing I got to do right out of the gate. Second thing is going to be the area of the frame over the area of the picture. Now, this big eagle, notice we're going small here. This big eagle is only used to solve for x. That's it. After that, this big eagle is gone. We don't pay attention to that. Now, what we have here is a width of 10, height of 8. So I always like to label just to keep me straight. That's width. That's height. Now, this 5 doubles as the width of the picture, and it also doubles as the width of the frame. Okay? So that is the width. Now, this is where students screw up because they can't read the display. This 3.5 deals with the actual frame right here. This X deals with the actual picture. I need to deal with this X. All right. So right now, this 3.5 has nothing to do with anything I'm doing right now. This is my height. All right. So when I set up my proportion, that's going to be a width over height proportion. So that is 10 over 8 is equal to, up here we go, 5, that's my width, 5 over h. Cross multiply and solve. And I think this actually might work out pretty well. So that's 40. I think our height, or that really should be x, sorry. X ends up being 4. Okay? So x ends up being 4. That's what x ends up being right there, 4. Now it's time to do this. Remember, this is kind of like, we don't need this anymore. It is the area of the frame, area of the picture. Now remember, read the display or read the diagram correctly. The width of the frame is a 5. The height of the frame is 3.5, not 4. 4 is the picture. I'm only looking for the frame. All right, so that is the area of the frame. I'm just writing this out so you can go, is a 5 times, writing it out so you can see where I'm going with this. It's a 5 by 3.5. Okay, so 5 by 3.5 gives me 17.5. The area of the picture is a 5 by 4. I'm just writing. I know you already know what 5 times 4 is. I'm writing it out. This gives me 20. So what percent of the original sketch was still able to be included? Well, 17.5 by 20. That is going to give me 87.5%, which we'll just call this 88%. All right, it's an easy setup as long as you remember that 4 deals with the height of the picture. Notice how the lines go to the top and bottom of the picture. All right, now the last one that we kind of went over that some students have trouble with is these type of questions. What I see is a little kitty cat inside of a TV, and I have they're gray, but they should be black bars. Okay, so I'm going to make this up. I'm going to say the width of the TV is going to be, let's just say, we'll say 55 inches. All right, and then we'll also say that the TV has a 4:3 ratio, and I'm going to call this a cat. The cat has a 16:9 ratio. All right, now I told you these are 2 rectangles in one. So I'm going to take my cat rectangle and draw it off to the side. There's my cat. There's my cat rectangle. So what I have is the entire TV screen, and there's my cat. I'm just going to put cat there. I'm not going to draw it. You see me draw today. It wasn't good. So the width of the TV is 55 inches. But guess what? The cat is also 55 inches because it goes to the edge here. So the cat is also 55. All right. Now, the width of the TV is a 4:3. So that's my aspect ratio. I'm sorry, I said the width. I meant the aspect ratio. I'm given the width. I need to find the height. That's an X. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4:3 and I'm going to take this information and put it in a proportion to start solving for this. So width over height, 4:3, is equal to 55 over X. And I'm going to round this just to the nearest whole number just to keep things nice and clean. This ends up being 41. Now the width of the TV has already been given to you. That's 55. So to find the area of the TV is 41 times 55. 41 times 55. 2,255. All right, hold there. Now let's go to the cat. The cat has an aspect ratio of 16:9. The width is 55, but we don't know how tall the cat is. Now, of course, when I say the cat, I mean the cat rectangle. So 16 over 9 is equal to 55 over X. Now remember, 55 is the width that stays on top. 55 is always the numerator. So 9 times 55 divided by 16. I'm going to round that to the nearest whole. That's 31. Again, the width is given to us, that's 55. The area of the cat is going to be 31 times 55, 1705. All right, now we need to find what percentage does the black bars occupy the 16:9 TV screen. Well, notice that the cat, I'm sorry, not the cat, but the TV is the largest square footage, because that's the overall, that the square footage isn't getting any bigger. So that's the total. So the total square footage, the TV screen, is 2255. And I always like to draw this just so you can see it. So the total is 2255. All right. Now, of that TV screen, the cat rectangle takes up 1705. That's the cat. Now, everything else, notice, you have the cat rectangle, then you have the black bars. Everything else is the black bars. So, 2255 minus 1705, that gives me 550 square inches of black space. That's my black bars. All right. Now, to find the percentage of the black bars, remember it's the black over the total. The black bars is 550. That's what I want, 550. Divided by the total, which was 2250. 2255. And that ends up being roughly 24%. So, there you go. There's a video kind of talking about what will probably be the most challenging questions for you guys on the quiz tomorrow. Hopefully you watch this, hopefully you pay attention, and this reinforces a lot of these concepts. Thank you for watching.